All right, welcome back to the Carousel, the number one podcast for all the latest news, scoop, rumors about the college basketball coaching carousel. I'm Adam Gordon, joined today with our co-host Brian Burton of All Access Network. What's up, Brian?
Not much, man. Not much. It's a good day. Just a reminder, we're not here to talk and celebrate anyone on the hot seat or anyone losing their job. We just want to talk about the openings that are open now and some possible names.
Yeah, exactly. And we want to make this interactive. So if you've got scoop, if you've heard rumors, shoot us a text anonymously at 662-418-9031 or comment in the DMs, slide into our DMs, shoot us a comment on social media. We want to make this interactive. We want everybody to join in on the scoop. It's always so secretive, and knowledge is power in this industry, which is complete BS in my opinion. Let's put it out there and let the chips fall where they may.
You got to tell them why us. Why us again?
Yeah, why us? Why is it me and Brian hosting the show? We're not the most connected people. We don't have all the answers. We just don't give a fuck anymore, Brian, because we don't coach. So we're free to talk nice and easy. We don't have to play the political game or worry about getting our next coaching gig. At least I don't.
No doubt. I don't either. I'm in the same boat. I will say the slide into the DMs is normally a more of a romantic thing, but I like what you did there.
Yeah, you slide in DMs for many different reasons. If you're a nutcase like we are, that's like a college coach obsessed with the job market and Twitter and constantly on there, you're sliding into DMs for jobs.
This is true.
That's how it works these days.
This is true. I think they use a different word than slide in, but I like it. 12:15 today, we'll be joined by the one and only Adam Nelson from Hoopter, the Dirt King himself. So this is an episode you definitely want to stay tuned into, and we'll always have a different type of guests that can talk about specific jobs or job market in general. And yeah, we'll have some fun once again. Episode 2.
Well, let's get right into it, Brian. Since last week, we've got new jobs that have opened. But before we get into those, we have our first hires.
Yes.
Northern Illinois, first on the board at the Division I level, at least, of hiring a new head coach, not counting interims being moved up. They made the hire Rashawn Burno, the associate head coach from Arizona State. Congratulations to him. He's certainly been in the business a long time and paid his dues. Not only a great recruiter, but does a lot. I know he's done a lot at the Arizona State program in terms of coaching and mentoring their guys, and does a lot on the court. We wish him the best. I would imagine he's going to take some guys from Arizona State with him. Wouldn't be surprised if you saw a couple of their guys at Northern Illinois. Wouldn't be surprised if our own Brandon Rosenthal, I don't know this, but wouldn't be surprised if he went. There's Robo was on the Arizona State staff. So usually when a guy takes a job, they're going to bring some people with them. And I think you can imagine seeing some of that stuff happen as well.
Yeah, and they had he had Chicago ties. I think that was the big thing. Obviously, great experience. Has been in the business a long time, great reputation. But those Chicago ties, I think, were the big part of what made them feel excited about bringing him in. And definitely cool to see a guy that's paid his dues like he has get his shot. So excited for him. It's going to be good.
And then we got Texas State, right?
Yeah, so Texas State definitely got a source plug last night, which was pretty cool to celebrate. I'm really excited for TJ just to be able to have, to seal the deal. Isaac Brown, obviously, in Wichita State led the way first, making the interim tag now full-time. And expected today is that Terrence Johnson will be named full-time head coach at Texas State after winning the Sun Belt title. Just an awesome story. And two of the best stories in college basketball this season to me has been Texas State and Wichita State. So excited to see the good guys win. It doesn't always happen that way, but it's happening. Those guys won championships. You can't do anything more than that. So excited for both of those guys.
Yeah, it's about time they take the interim tag off, right?
I know. It is about time. I feel like it's been a long time coming. But, yeah, the whole state is excited. TJ is a definite favorite in the state of Texas, and we talked about it last time. I need to go ahead and get it done. Sounds like today they will be getting it done. So excited for TJ and Texas State and their entire staff.
Well, let's get right into new jobs that have come open. Start us off here, Brian.
Yeah, so we got
We're going to start with Indiana State.
Indiana State, definitely a good job. Missouri Valley Conference, home of Larry Legend himself. Definitely has some tradition to be able to sell. Indiana is a great basketball state, as we know. And Missouri Valley Conference is still a high-level basketball conference. So definitely will be a job that I think people will be excited about to get involved in. And, I think a couple of names I've already heard. Man, I'm drawing a blank. What's my guy's name as the head coach at Mercer? Greg Gary?
Yep.
So Greg Gary.
Former Purdue assistant.
Has done a tremendous job at Mercer in a really tough league. They were just in the championship game to play in the tournament. Came up a little bit short. But, I've heard his name probably because of his Indiana ties. He's one name I've heard. That's a good one, and done a tremendous job. And then I've actually also heard Todd Simon, who just won Coach of the Year at Southern Utah. I'm not sure if there's a specific tie. He's more of a Michigan guy, but it's close enough. He's from the Midwest and has done such a great job at Southern Utah. Not a great resource job, Southern Utah, I can say that. And Indiana State, just a much higher profile level job. It sounds like they're looking for a sitting head coach, not someone who is an assistant that has not necessarily called a timeout just yet. So those are two of the names I heard so far.
Yeah, and then Josh Schertz, the head coach at Lincoln Memorial, obviously his name's been all over, Twitter and Hoopter the last couple of days as being, the emerging leader for that job. He's taken Lincoln Memorial to, as high as you can go at the Division II level. They're a powerhouse year in and year out. Jason Belzer is his agent. I know Jason's been, I don't know about grooming him to be a head coach, but he's been positioning him to get that Division I head coaching job and make that jump. And they've been picky. I think Josh is one of the higher paid head coaches at the Division II level. So I don't think they were going to make a jump for just any, low major Division I. And Indiana State certainly isn't that. It's a great, mid-major program, like you mentioned, from a very good mid-major conference. So that one makes a lot of sense. And obviously he's a great coach, but also, you got to recognize too, Greg Lansing did an unbelievable job there. 11 seasons. He's as good of a ball coach as you're going to find as well. But sometimes, for whatever reason, a school wants to make a change and mix it up and get some new blood in there. But do want to acknowledge the job that G. Lance did there at Indiana State over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually just got a anonymous text. We've all heard the Josh Schertz name. We talked about it before the show. It sounds like he is the favorite, and I got a text confirming that it looks like it is going to happen. Not just that it might happen, but that it is going to happen. So if it does in fact happen, you heard it here first. Just kidding. No. It's just cool to see that more schools are starting to go to Division II head coaches. We've obviously seen the success of guys like Grant McCaslin, Chris Beard. I'm sure there's a plethora of others that have been Division II head coaches that are now getting their shot to move up. So, exciting to see Josh Schertz looks like he's going to be the next head coach at Indiana State. Breaking news.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Certainly that head coaching experience is a big deal. So, we'll see. Also, just a quick plug for the Right Fit podcast, which is going down later today. It's a Rising Coaches member Zoom. We actually have the Lincoln Memorial Athletic Director, Jasher Cox, on talking about how he approaches the hiring process. So yet again, great podcast scheduling on the Rising Coaches part. A very timely guest, it sounds like. So that'll be later this afternoon at 3 Eastern. All right, let's stay in that region of the country, Eastern Illinois. Another situation, you got Jay Spoonhour, who did a great job in a very difficult situation. Eastern Illinois, in my opinion, I know you've always got the printouts, Brian, that ranks the job. I've got just my own experiences to go on, but EIU, in my opinion, the worst job in the OVC. You
coached in that league, so you know better than anybody.
Well, they had, their institution had a lot of financial issues a few years ago. They almost lost their athletic department. I think they survived that scare. But just from a resources standpoint, they don't have a ton. Their gym is not great. Their location is a challenge. So it's a hard job, and Jay Spoonhour did a great job over the years. Maybe you could talk about some names that you've heard. Two guys that pop out to me. First of all, right away, I'd be on the phone with Kyle Smith-Peters at John A. Logan. I haven't heard his name.
Got to give some JUCO love.
Yeah, I mean, obviously has done as good of a job as any junior college coach in the country over the last few years at John A. Logan, turning them into a powerhouse. And again, another guy with head coaching experience, which is a big deal. And he's proven he can recruit. And I just think you got to get creative recruiting wise at a job like the IU. And then another guy is Chris Hollander. And I have seen his name mentioned on a couple, sources on Twitter and Hoopter. But Hollander is an assistant at Missouri. He's from right around there, Neptune, Illinois, which I think is, 15 minutes away from the school. And he does a great job. What are some other names that you've heard? I've read a few.
Yeah, I just like to take a second to just kind of even go into this Kyle Smith-Peters one a little bit. As a former JUCO guy, we love to show JUCO some love. I love the idea of hiring a JUCO coach to be able to move up. He's done an outstanding job making John A. Logan a blue blood program at the JUCO level, which it wasn't before at all. And then just to have a guy get drafted from there last year and go to the Clippers shows the ability that he's been able to recruit. I think they have a Kansas commit this year, along with another maybe high major commit, but they were preseason number one and have as talented a team as they have in the country. So if you can get some of that level of talent to come to that level, then you could have a lot of fun at Eastern Illinois in the OVC. So I just like to spend some more time just giving him shout out and hope that they will actually give, as a small college coach, former small college coach, you just love the stories when guys get to level up. Because I think, again, there's so many JUCO coaches that are at the Division I level that are having tremendous success too. So I love the fact that they're considering that, and I hope they actually go in that direction. That's my shameless plug, I guess you could say.
Yeah, a couple other names. Marty Simmons, who's at Clemson now, but of course was the head coach at Evansville for many years. One of the best offensive minds in basketball. He would be a slam dunk. I think he's great. Again, he's a Jim Cruz guy. Chris Hollander and him obviously are very close and have that Evansville tie together. So kind of always strange when you see two guys from the same coaching tree involved in a job.
Right.
But that's another guy I could see getting the look. And what other name did I hear? Jeff Alexander, another guy from that coaching tree who's currently at Illinois. Heard his name as well. And I think Adam Nelson, I think Hoopter reported a couple other guys. We'll bring Adam on in just a few minutes. But according to Hoopter, I'm just looking at their site now, he mentioned Paul Lusk from Creighton, as well as Jamal Walker, who's at Grand Canyon. So be interesting to see what happens there. That's a new one. And we'll see what happens.
Grand Canyon's had a great year. Jamal Walker was at Illinois as an assistant, has some ties to that area, done a great job recruiting everywhere he's been. So he would be a great name. And the other one you said, who was the other person you said?
Paul Lusk, who obviously had a great tenure at Missouri State, was the head coach there for a while before being let go, and has been at Creighton, where obviously they've had tremendous success, even though they have had some recent controversy. I don't think that will faze him at all in this or factor in. Last job we'll talk about before we bring in our guest, Central Connecticut State. Another new one that's open since our last show last Thursday.
Yep.
Another challenging job. Danielle Marshall was let go. Two names that I've heard pretty early. Pat Sellers, assistant coach at Fairfield. He's got a ton of experience. He was a great player at Central Connecticut State. I think was one of the best in their school history. He's been on staffs at UConn, UMass, Creighton. It's a little weird because Danielle Marshall is a UConn guy.
Yep.
So I don't know if Jim Calhoun's connected or has some sort of connection to that school or poll, but it would be interesting to see him, another UConn guy there, and then yet another UConn guy that I've heard involved, is Scott Burrell.
Yep.
Obviously, a great player that played at UConn, went on to play with MJ and the Bulls. He's the head coach at Southern Connecticut State. He's done a very good job there, Division II program in state there. I think he's been there for about 5 years. He hasn't quite had the same career that like a Josh Schertz has had, where they were going to Final Fours and ranked number 1 in the country. But he's certainly had a great tenure there at Southern Connecticut.
Yep, absolutely. And then, I think a big part of making a move like that too is, you see guys like Mark Matson's had tremendous success at Utah Valley as a former, NBA guy and won championships. I think that what it brings to your program, that presence that you have. I think Scotty Burrell is known as a funny guy and a super professional, so he would be a great choice. I've also heard, what is my guy's name? Steve Curran at St. Bonaventure, who's the associate head coach, who's done a tremendous job being right there, the right-hand man to a lot of championships and a lot of success there. I've heard his name also mentioned as a guy who, on the outside, he's not connected to UConn, so he may not have as much of a chance. But as an outside name, I've heard that name as well.
Great guy, though. Great guy.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great coach, great guy. But I've heard more so the two names you actually said. So we've talked about that a little bit. Those two names, they make sense. And we'll see how Central Connecticut kind of progresses.
Yeah, and I've been slacking here on my graphics. I got up to speed here with my graphics with the school name, so I apologize.
It was a production team backstage. It wasn't you.
Yeah. Where's our producer at?
I was thinking that. I was like, are we still in Indiana State? But
all right, well, let's bring in our guest today. We're very excited to have him. No one better to talk about the coaching carousel and this time of year than our guest, Adam Nelson from Hoopter. Let's bring him in. Adam, what's up? How fired up are you for this time of year?
Man, I can't even tell you. Like I wish you guys could see my desk right now. Like, this is nuts. I've got the second computer going here. I've got the phones here, and I'm a big fan of these yellow pads of paper.
I love it.
I've got stuff spread out like you wouldn't believe. But this is, this is fun. This is
what is this time of year like for you? Honestly, give us a little quick behind the scenes.
Crazy, just never ending. Yeah. Absolutely never ending. But in a good way, and Brian, like we've talked before, and, because I like talking to coaches, I like talking to the guys that I came up with and the new guys I met. It's a good way to stay in touch with guys, and you hear a lot of stuff. Right. But I'll be honest, and at Hoopter.com, we do a lot more than just the Division I stuff, the 2s, 3s, NAIAs, junior colleges. That stuff's actually a lot quieter this year because so few of them played. None of the Division III JUCOs played. About half the Division IIs and IIIs actually had a regular season, so there's not going to be as much stuff going there. So not that it's ever quiet in March here at the Hoopter.com world headquarters, but it might be a little quieter. But this is, last week, this week, and the next couple of weeks are the really, kind of the busy ones with stuff open and people on the move.
Do you go into training like in February? Do you start running 3 miles a day or special diet to get ready for this?
No, you know what? There's no training, but there's that one day every year that the phone just doesn't stop, and it's okay, this is it. This is the start. So yeah, you never you never know when it's going to come, but when it comes, okay, all right, it's on, it's go time. Here we go. Yeah, no, it's fun. I mean, it's this is what we do, and and I've said it a lot. I said to everybody I talk to, I've said to you guys, you never like seeing guys lose their jobs.
No,
we're not about that, and that's why at Hoopter.com we'll never do a hot seat. We'll never project who's going to lose their job, but we do want to help guys in the business move. So we're going to give them the latest stuff that we have. So it's that good, that bad. But in reality, we do want to help coaches, and we got a lot of information, man. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. It's nuts.
Yeah, well, let's get right into it.
Let's get to it.
Yeah, let's start with Penn State. Tell us what you're hearing there and what's the latest.
Yeah, so there's a bunch going on. You know what, Adam and Brian, can I hijack this for a second? Can I go back to what I was listening to you guys talk for a second? Can I just follow up on a couple of things you said about Indiana State, Eastern Illinois, and Central Connecticut? Can I hijack the show? Is that okay? Indiana State, you guys are right on with Josh Schertz. He's like the man there. This has actually been going on for a little while. for whatever reason, he's been involved there for a while. Don't want to say it's done, but this is getting really close to being done with Shirts. Obviously, he's had a phenomenal run at Lincoln Memorial. So you guys are right on there. You guys had that. Eastern Illinois, you guys, again, those are some of the names that I talked about today. Especially with Lusk and Marty Simmons, I think those guys are really high up there. And that's my fault. I actually do have Kyle Smith-Peters on my list. You can see my list. He's on there, fellas. I did not put him in today's blog for some reason, but I do think he'll be involved. I think the thing with Eastern Illinois, and Adam, you referred to it, kind of lack of resources. That job's going to pay like $160. So I think that's a pretty good list going for guys at Eastern Illinois can get it at $160. And then finally, Central Connecticut. Good names you guys have. I actually just got a really, really good list about 10 minutes before I came on, and I want to confirm it. But you guys are really close here. I will tell you, I believe Jimmy Ferry from Penn State is on that list. Mike Donnelly from Florida Southern, and Tommy Moore, in addition to some of the guys you said. And I think there's a couple others, but I'm going to confirm those and try to get those up in a little bit. But you guys are good, man. You guys are all over this stuff. So sorry about that, Adam. I know I hijacked it a little bit here, but look, you guys want to go to Penn State? We can talk about Penn State. So Penn State, we're going to talk about this one a lot. I mean, obviously, Dennis Gates from Cleveland State's been mentioned all over the place. I think him and Micah Shrewsbury are in pretty good at Penn State. But I think two names that have really over the last couple of days come to the forefront are Travis DeCure from Montana and Jeff Bowles from Ohio. Those guys, it sounds like they've interviewed with, and I think they both have some ties there. Travis DeCure was at Cal when Penn State's AD Sandy Barber was at Cal, so they have a little bit of a relationship. Jeff Bowles is a Big Ten guy being at Ohio State. So I think those two guys are starting to emerge. And we'll talk about Coach Gates here in a little bit more. But, like Penn State's a really good spot for him. Maybe better than the other spot he's involved with if he wants to stay around for a while. But we can talk about that. But I do think it's like Gates, Shrewsbury, DeCure, Bowles is the top four right now. But I will tell you this, and I will tell you this in all honesty, it would not surprise me at Penn State if Jimmy Ferry stayed.
Really?
He can coach, man. He can coach. And I've known Coach Ferry for a long time. When I was a young guy and he was a young guy, he was an assistant at Bentley when we came up in this thing. Yep. He moved on to Plymouth State, Delphi, where he killed it, LIU, Duquesne. He can coach, man. So depending on how some of his other stuff shakes out, like, do I think it'll happen? Probably not. Would it surprise me? Nope, not at all. Not at all if he retained that. And then again, there's other guys that have, Mark Schmidt, John Becker, they're talking about all those guys. But I really think it's that four of Gates, Shrewsbury, DeCure, and Bowles right now at Penn State.
All right. What do you got for Boston College? So
here we go. So this is, again, you guys know I'm a Boston College alum, so this one's close to the heart here.
Okay, this is real close.
And BC has a habit since the Jim O'Brien and Al Skinner days of really kind of kicking these searches. New AD Pat Kraft brought in Bob Bodine to help with this. Like they've got to have a big time hire here. But it's a tough job, man. I mean, you guys know to compete in the ACC, Boston is not a college sports town. It's a pro sports town. But again, I believe Dennis Gates is number one on this list right now. His wife is the senior associate athletic director there. They live apart. To be honest, it makes so much sense that Dennis Gates would be the choice here. But like I said, though, you got to look at it too, though, from maybe Dennis Gates' point of view. Like, do you want this job? Can you win the ACC? I doubt it. Can you go to the Big Ten and win at Penn State? Probably. But what's more likely? So Dennis Gates came from Florida State, right? Leonard Hamilton signed a 5-year extension. If he lasts 5 more years, Dennis Gates, maybe takes over at Florida State if he comes from Penn State and wins. If you're at Boston College, you're going to struggle, man. I mean, you're going to struggle to finish in that top half for a long time. Can he get it turned around? Maybe. But I just think, like, what is, long term, what do you want? Do you want to jump at a good chance in the ACC? Sure, why not? These don't come up very often. But if he wants it, sounds like he could be right there. But again, same thing with Micah Shrewsbury from Purdue. And again, Coach Shrewsbury has a Boston connection where he was on Brad Stevens' staff in Boston with the Celtics for 6 years. Yep. That's another good name there. after that, I'd be really curious to see what they're thinking.
It seems like Shrewsbury is a leader on this. Am I wrong on that?
I think he and Gates are really close here. I think those are the two right now. But again, like Howard Isley from Michigan should be in that mix. Yeah. He's a Boston College alum, a lot of NBA experience. There's no reason he shouldn't be in that mix. So I think that's where they're at right now. But again, the thing with BC, you don't know. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what they're going to do? I mean, there's some other good candidates out there. I mean, look at a guy like James Jones from Yale. You can bring him into a place like BC. Coach Jones is recruited at a high academic institution. He can come in and recruit at BC, bring some stability, win some games. James Jones, John Thompson III, like those are really good candidates too.
Right.
So there's definitely a lot of guys out there.
We brought up Howard Isley last time. We brought up Mark Schmidt last time. Is he involved in that? We've heard he is. I actually just heard Ryan Odom and Damon Starmeyer just as we're on this show. I don't know if you've heard those names.
Odom's been tossed out there a little bit. Stoudemire's trying to get involved with a lot of stuff. It sounds like he's at Pacific, not making a ton. I don't know if he's BC ready, but there's another thing he's out there kicking the tires on that we may talk about here in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, there's like Mark Schmidt's had a really good season. Mark Schmidt can really coach. Mark Schmidt's actually a Boston College alum, so Mark Schmidt's a good fit. Same with John Becker at Vermont. Those are guys like if they get offered this thing, I would assume they take it. But again, I think those guys are kind of much further down the list.
So do you get any BC like inside scoop because you're an alum? Do you have like an alumni in that you can just kind of like?
Yeah, no. You know what? I'm an old guy. I was there with Jim O'Brien a long time ago. Nobody else is there anymore. Those are the glory days. They haven't been very good since. I have no.
Well, don't skip over the Al Skinner years. They were good then.
The Al Skinner years were definitely good. They were very good. And again, but that's what they need to get back to. But again, the biggest problem is, now being in the ACC.
For sure.
You look back at, when they were in the Big East, I mean, you can compete with Georgetown, Providence, Syracuse. You can compete with those guys. Similar markets at the time, similar gyms. But again, in the ACC, I mean, Duke, Carolina, all those schools that are just so basketball crazy.
Yeah, Adam Gordon hates my rankings, but it's supposed to be the worst job in the league. That's what they say. If you put all the things together, supposedly.
Yeah, you're probably pretty close. But like I said, so I'm a Boston College alum. Our oldest son is a sophomore there now. We're on cash. I'm going to pick him up today to come home for the weekend. They're building so much. So they built a brand new athletic facility. Rumors they're building a new practice gym. So they're trying. They built a brand new baseball stadium to compete in the ACC. They're definitely trying. But again, BC's different than some of these ACC schools. Look at their track team, ACC track. Well, they hop on a bus to go to practice at like Harvard for an ACC track team. So, not necessarily ACC level athletics.
Adam didn't like you calling it the worst job in the league there. I could tell.
Yeah.
No offense to that.
I mean, not because of anything you did. It's not you. It's a different league. You said it's ACC now.
I'm with you, Brian. I knew what you meant. I'm with you.
Let's talk about Albany.
Still a great place.
It's a great place. Thank you, Brian.
Great place.
What are you hearing about Albany?
So Albany, there is a very clear top three here, without a doubt, and I believe in order. Desmond Oliver from Tennessee. He's a Buffalo native. He's been around a long time, Division I assistant. Kyle Neptune from Villanova. He's a New York guy, Brooklyn native. And then Dwayne Killings from Vermont, from Marquette. He was a UConn assistant. Killings is actually from like Western Mass, which is really close to Albany. So from what I've heard, and I've heard this from a lot of guys, like legit top three and legit in that order: Oliver, Neptune, Killings. I think Antoni Weish from Siena is like trying to get involved, like in that next group. And some other guys. I mean, there's a lot of other names out there with, Jerry McNamara, Dan Engelstadt from Mount St. Mary's, Tobin Anderson from St. Thomas Aquinas. But like the way I look at Albany, like I don't think it gets past one of those three guys.
Right.
And if it does, I think Antoni Weish has a shot. But it seems, from what I've heard, like legit sources, that it's those three guys right now in that order.
We actually mentioned those three. So we're last week.
Yeah, you guys are good, man.
we're slowly making our way, man. What about Fordham? That's probably the one that has the least amount of information out there that people are wondering about.
Yeah, you know what? So DHR, Glenn Sugiyama is running the search, and it's hard to get a lot of stuff out of that one. I do think the three that are being focused on right now are Jared Grasso from Bryant, Shaheen Holloway from St. Peter's, and believe it or not, Pat Chambers formerly from Penn State. It sounds like that's the top three. There's some kind of speculation that, like, if Grasso would be offered it, would he take it? Which I don't know. He's done a really good job at Bryant and really built that. I mean, he does have a Fordham connection. He was the associate head coach the interim head coach back there in 2009, 2010. New York guy, but he's really done a good job at Bryant, and can maybe he get something better. But again, Fordham's an A10. It's an A10 job. I will tell you though, I've heard from a lot of people, and we put up odds. We put up a lot of names a couple weeks ago, but there's some really truth to some of the Steve Lavin stuff too. I don't know where it is. He's got a lot of support coming from somewhere there, whether it's some boosters, alums, something. But there's, and I think Fran Fraschilla kicked the tires on it a little bit and may still be kicking the tires. But there's some real, legit Steve Lavin scuttlebutt out there too.
That'd be a good hire. Good coach. He's done well everywhere he's gone.
Kevin Sweeney actually mentioned that last week. He mentioned those names as well. So he was on it. Yeah, no, those are some legit names. And there'll be some other guys. I mean, like I said, it's a DHR search, and those guys are going to keep it really tight to the vest. But it seems like it's shaking out. That's the group right now. I've actually heard that Cal Neptune interviewed at Fordham as well. Have you heard that? Yeah,
he was on our initial list. And I think he's obviously really marketable coming from Villanova and being a Jay Wright guy. And
it feels like it's time for him to get a shot. It
does. And when I can see him at Fordham, you can also see him at Albany. I think Fordham's a better job because it's an A10, I guess. But do you have a better chance to win at Albany? Yeah. So, again, what's a better job to you? Do you want to make a little bit more money coaching the A10 and maybe not have a chance to win, and or have a chance to be really good in the America East at Albany? Who knows? But I do think Kyle Neptune will get something really soon here.
Right. I heard two more at Fordham real quick was James Jones, and then also the head coach at Colgate. If they want to go more academic, kind of thinking about those two guys. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard a little bit on that.
Yeah, I haven't heard those too much. I'd be surprised if James Jones would make the move to Fordham. I mean, he's got a really good thing. Like I said, like a BC or even a Penn State.
I just got a text that he actually interviewed there. Is what I'm told.
Yeah. I mean, hey, that would be be an interesting move. Again, guys do certain things. James Jones is 57 years old. Been at Yale 21 years. It could be time for a change. Is it a better job? Yeah, probably. It's an A10 job, but again, I mean, you got a good thing. It's different going to the ACC or the Big Ten. With BC or Penn State, you're going to make a ton of money, and even if you last 4 or 5 years, you're good. You go to Fordham, get your head kicked in for a few years. But again, if you're 57 years old, you're probably going to retire anyway. So, would not be surprising if that happened.
Right. Didn't mean to shift gears from New Mexico, Adam. Gordon, sorry about that.
No, all good. Just got to Katie Young listening in. Shout out to Katie Young. Feel free to drop us some scoop. I'm sure you can't do that, but feel free to drop it. All right, let's move on. Tell us what you got for New Mexico, Adam.
Yeah, so New Mexico is interesting. So obviously, kind of early-ish there, but two guys that are really pushing for this, and I don't think too much of a secret, but Tim Miles, he was at Nebraska, Colorado State. Colorado State's in the Mountain West, like New Mexico. But interesting enough, in 2017, when Miles' contract, when they knew it wasn't going to be extended, and he was kind of like a lame duck for a little bit in Nebraska, he was kicking the tires on New Mexico. There's something there.
Right.
But the other one is obviously Richard Pitino from Minnesota. It's probably no secret that he's going to be out at Minnesota. But I think the interesting thing here is the AD at New Mexico, Eddie Nunez. He's a basketball guy, man. He was Billy Donovan's GA at Florida. He was an administrative guy for Tom Crean at Marquette. But so you think, well, why Richard Pitino at New Mexico? It's kind of odd. Well, no, it's not, because Billy the Kid's a Rick Pitino guy. So look at this. We're looking down the tree. So, that name to me makes perfect sense at New Mexico and could, in fact, be the guy there.
We said that one off the record last week. We said a high major coach. That's tied to Billy Donovan.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, and that's what's going to happen. I think is if it's not Pitino or Miles, it's going to be there's going to be some kind of Billy Donovan, Rick Pitino, or to be honest, even some kind of Tom Crean tie there, because like I said, Eddie Nunez is a basketball guy, and from the people that I've talked to, like he'll tell you he's a basketball guy too. Like he's proud of that,
Right.
So this is a big hire for him. He's been the AD there since 2017. This will be a big basketball hire for him. So someone coming from one of those families, I think, is going to be the choice there. And again, you guys mentioned Damon Starmeyer earlier.
Yep.
Obviously he's a legend at Arizona. New Mexico's in that Southwest. He brings a little bit of a name. He's done a nice job at Pacific. So New Mexico, it sounds like they're going to pay about $700,000 a year. So that's obviously, that's going to be more than Stoudemire's making at Pacific. Not that, hey, man, he played in the league long enough. I'm pretty sure he doesn't need it, but it's definitely a pay increase. Not an increase for obviously Miles or Pitino, but when you need a job, you take a job, So that's why I think those guys would be in play for that kind of $700,000 range that they're talking about in New Mexico.
Yeah, there's a couple of we mentioned those names. Those are awesome names. A couple other we mentioned Kyle Keller before. His name's been mentioned from Stephen F. Austin, and then so I've heard that Cody. We said Cody Topper on the show, but I've actually got a text saying Cody Topper may have actually interviewed at New Mexico in this process, and then Travis DeCure's name came up as well. So some of the same names circling back around, but. New Mexico is definitely a good job when they're able to play at home in their own state, in their own gym. This year was crazy, but yeah, it's definitely a traditionally elite job in that league.
Yeah, no, you're right, and I'm glad you said that. This year was definitely crazy, which is nuts that we're talking about some of this too. Like some of these guys that are getting evaluated over a shortened season,
right?
And I kind of made that point last week when Tony Jasic at Jacksonville was fired. A little bit under 500, a little bit under 500 for his career, played a shortened season due to COVID, and still wound up getting fired. He had 2 years left on his contract. This wouldn't have happened last year because no one's buying anybody out.
Right.
But now you see, like, wow, even this shortened COVID crazy season, like ADs are still evaluating, which like I said, to me that was like kind of the first sign that like, wow, okay, this will definitely be a little bit of a busier year than last year. And guys will get evaluated and guys will get fired. And then, like I said it last week that, Jasic is different than Greg Lansing at Indiana State, where Lansing had an expiring contract. There was some other stuff going on there. This was happening for a long time. I mean, It's not a surprise. So that one, not a surprise, but with Jasic, it's like, yeah, wow, they just bought 2 years. And same thing, like when Pitino goes at Minnesota, they're going to owe him some money. It sounds like he's got a, $175,000 buyout. But again, he's got like a retention bonus on April 30th. It's like $400,000. So it'll be like $135,000 buyout, something like that. But they're gonna pay to buy him out, which is, again, there were a lot of guys that got saved because of this last year. That is not happening this year. So definitely an interesting time for college basketball.
No doubt. Do you think it'll still be 37 jobs, I think you predicted, or do you think it'll be more?
So, I did that a couple of weeks ago. I set the over-under at 37. I'm going to stick to it.
Okay, sticking to his guns. I like it.
I'm going to stick. The first week I had my over-under at 5. It was 4, so a little bit less. This week I have the over-under at 9.5. We're at 2. But believe it or not, we're going to sneak pretty close to that this week. I think – the next couple of days, there'll be some movement. I think it's funny that, kind of like in the old days, like the newspaper days, right? Guys would get fired late on Friday night because they kind of bury it in the headline. Right. No one reads the newspaper on the weekends. Now guys try to make moves Friday night. They don't realize like the internet's not nonstop. It doesn't matter. You can announce it at midnight Friday night or noon on a Monday. Guys still know. So, but I still think that's kind of the thought that, like this Friday night, we're going to try and bury it on a Friday night. So I think between tonight, tomorrow night, Saturday, and even Sunday, we're gonna get a little bit busier.
Right. I got one before you go, if you don't mind, Adam G.
You're good. Go ahead. What do you got?
The Denver job. I was told this morning that there's 12 people that have interviewed. I know 3, or I've been told about 3 of them. Adam Cohen from Stanford, the head coach at Colorado's School of Mines, I believe, was one of them, and then Dan Fife. Is that? What was the name I said, Adam G, earlier?
Dan Fickey at Belmont.
Fickey at Belmont Abbey. Those are 3 names I heard that interviewed. But I heard there was 12 that interviewed. I didn't know if you knew any of those names or heard different names or what you've heard.
There's a lot going on there right now. I'll tell you another name to keep an eye on is Xavier Silas. He's in the G League right now, played the NBA, G League assistant. He's got some ties out that way.
Played at Denver?
Played at Northern Illinois.
Colorado. Excuse me, played at Colorado.
Yeah, and then Northern Illinois at the end.
Gotcha.
He's really trying to get into this thing, and he's been pushing hard. And I think that's another kind of under the radar name there.
Yeah. They've had a good amount of success offensively. I think he's coaching the offensive side of the ball. He's done some good things.
Yep, you're right.
I also heard recently that they're looking for head coaching experience, which would counter, the Adam Cohen name and Silas. I believe is an assistant in the G League, right?
Assistant, yep.
Assistant, yeah. So, it'll be interesting. The Dan Fickey hire would make sense and go along with that.
But I'll agree with you though, where if they're going to want a guy with head coaching experience for what they're going to pay, you're going to look for like a Dan Fickey type, or
right.
A guy from the Colorado School of Mines.
Right.
You're not going to afford a high major assistant. You're not going to afford a current Division I head coach. I mean, you're going to have to tap into the lower levels to get a guy who's going to come from what you're going to pay. So if that's what they want, those candidates would make sense.
And it kind of goes in waves like that, where they go opposite of what they recently hired. Billups was a high major assistant who hadn't had head coaching experience. Sometimes they go the opposite route and go with somebody who has head coaching experience. So it does make sense. And I think Colorado School of Mines is either the 1 seed or the 2 seed in their region for the tournament D2 wise. They've had a ton of success. So and then the other guy from Belmont Abbey was at Denver as an assistant at one point in time. So he kind of knows the inside of Denver as well. So those names could definitely make sense.
Yeah, another name that's popped up for a couple of jobs here. Also heard his name mentioned with Albany. I don't know how accurate that is or not, but I've just also heard his name for Denver. Andre Cook at St. Edward's, another D2 head coach that's done a phenomenal job. Wouldn't be surprised if he got an interview at either one of those places.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Andre Cook's a New York guy. So that would make sense with Albany. But again, I mean, another name that makes sense if that's the way Denver's heading. It could be.
Well, Adam, hey, we really appreciate your time. We appreciate you jumping on the carousel with us this week. We'd love to have you back at some point. We're just getting started here with this stuff, so we'll be going strong for a few more months.
Awesome, man. Listen, I appreciate you guys having me, and anytime you want me back, I would love to be here.
Yeah, we'll have plenty more off seasons to go with lots of carousel movement. So I think you'll be back plenty. It'll be fun.
Beautiful. Well, like I said, man, I appreciate you guys having me on, and I will definitely be talking to you guys soon.
Thanks, Adam. Take care.
All right. Be good, fellas.
All right, that was Adam Nelson with Hoop Dirt, bringing us the latest scoop. He's the best at knowing who's involved, and really, like he said, his intentions behind this are mirror ours. He's not about hot seats and celebrating guys losing their job. He's just trying to share information just like we are. So thanks again to Adam Nelson. B, we got I think 2 more Division I jobs to get to, maybe 3. We didn't talk Portland.
Yep.
So let's kind of revisit Portland here. Again, we talked about it last time. It sounded like they had a list of 30 people that they were working from. And also there were a couple of articles. The AD gave a couple of interviews about the hiring process, which always makes me nervous, but who knows? Right. What have you heard there? It sounds like you've heard they're narrowing down on a couple guys.
Yeah, it sounds like Eastern Washington's head coach, Shante Liggins, is going to be their choice, is what I'm hearing. It sounds like it's getting closer to being done. That was kind of one of the favorite names in the beginning, and it sounds like they've kind of zeroed in on him. And unless something goes south, it sounds like that's going to be one. One that we didn't mention last time was, I think, Mike Magpayo actually interviewed at Portland as well. We talked about DP, who was the head coach at Riverside, but it sounds like the current head coach at Riverside has actually interviewed at Portland, the UCR head coach. So, yeah, it sounds like Liggins, but you never know. These things always go down to the final hour. So the people that interviewed would still have a shot. So someone like, Mike Pyle would make sense, being that he's done such a good job in year one, but they also have had so much unknown, kind of like you were talking about with Eastern Illinois about their athletic department period there. So him having a chance to move up would make sense.
Yeah. You ask yourself, why would a first-year head coach and Mike be interested? Exactly what you just said. Sure, Portland probably pays a little bit more. It's definitely in a better conference than the West Coast Conference.
Right.
But more importantly, like you said, their schools had financial issues. They've talked about potentially going Division III. Their athletic director just left for that reason and took a job at Kennesaw State. Yep. So, lots of unknown there, and I could see him, that would be a good move. The other names we mentioned last week, and I don't know where they're at in the process, Scott Garson at Santa Clara, Jim Shaw at Western Oregon, Division II head coach, who's done a great job there, Danny Sprinkle at Montana State, and Matt Logie at Point Loma. So it'll be interesting to see, if it is indeed Shante Liggins, as you mentioned, or if they end up going in another direction. And then finally, we've got Jacksonville,
right.
Another job that's a really challenging job, a difficult job in the A-Sun. That league, other than Liberty, is fairly balanced, and you can make a quick rise in that league if you get the right recruiting class. You've seen North Alabama doing a great job there. Bellarmine has come in and had a lot of success. So I think you can rise, but Liberty, no question, is by far the best job in that conference. Jacksonville, limited resources, not a great gym. Honestly, Tony Jasek did a pretty good job there.
Yep.
Just unfortunate, the way it ended. But, I haven't heard anything for this one. Some guys that I would think would be good and that I'm sure, would have some level of interest. Greg Heyer, who obviously is at ETSU now, but he's been at LSU, and he had such a successful run as the head coach at Chipola there in Florida. Tim Kaine, assistant coach at Murray State. I'm not sure, is he associate head coach or assistant? I don't know what his title is.
He's really good. I know that.
Yeah, and he's a Florida guy and spent a lot of time in the state there. I'm sure he'd have interest. I'm sure a guy like James Kane at Iowa State, another Florida guy. And then there's so many good Division II coaches, in the state of Florida, in the Sunshine State Conference. There's so many good JUCO coaches in the state that I can see them going the small college route as well. Anything you've heard there?
Yeah, I was just thinking, kind of like you said, as far as guys that would be good. I mean, CY, Carlton Young at Florida State, and you see what Dennis Gates has done, and you see what just their program in general has done at Florida State. I mean, been one of the best in the ACC. Leonard Hamilton is kind of a GOAT in his own right. So I would think CY would be one of the next ones to get his chance to lead a program, and it makes sense being that maybe it's not a great job in a lot of ways, and somebody who would roll their sleeves up and kind of have that same pedigree like a Dennis Gates. I think he would be great. Greg Heyer is a great name. I mean, Greg Heyer won over 160 games as a JUCO head coach at Chipola, won 5 championships, 5 Coach of the Years. He actually also went to the Final Four when he was at Wichita State, won the SEC championship when he was at LSU. I'm a huge Greg Heyer, advocate, just because I think guys that win in JUCO, they understand how to win, and he's an elite level recruiter, and he's won everywhere Division I. So those kind of guys are the guys you need to win at a place like that. To me, you need a guy who's a grinder, who can really recruit and really doesn't care what the name on the front of the school says. He's just going to find a way to get it done. Yeah, let me tell you, Greg Heyer, I was at College of Central Florida at the time. I was Central Florida Community College when he was at Chipola. They kicked our ass in the state championship game. We made it all the way to the state championships. We had a great run. We felt, real good going into that game. They had their starting 5. They had 2 guys going to Indiana. Yep. They had a guy going to Texas A&M. Yep. They had 2 guys going to Wichita State. They had a guy going to Kansas. Yep. We were down 40 at halftime. We had no chance in that game. And he can coach too. It wasn't just about having talent. He could really, really coach. He's got a great command of the floor on both sides of the ball. Yeah. And then I want to go back to what you said about CY at Florida State. CY would be great. Love CY. I kind of want to talk about something here. He obviously,
had the opportunity at Georgia Southern years ago that didn't work out. But I think coaches learn so much, from getting an opportunity to do it. It's so hard to be a head coach. It's so hard to win. So having that head coaching experience, even if it didn't work out the first time, he's gone and now he's been an assistant again at Florida State for so many years. They've had so much success. Give him another chance. He's learned, I'm sure he's learned so much from his first go around. Let's see if he can be successful somewhere else. I think too many times when guys get fired, they just get kicked out of the head coaching business. And I don't think that's right. I think you should look at the individual and see what's happened. Here's a perfect example. Look at Richie McKay. Richie McKay was the head coach at several schools.
Great.
And he had a good career, but not great. He got let go. He went to Liberty. Then he left Liberty.
Went to Virginia.
To go to Virginia. And he spent 6 years at Virginia. Now he goes back to Liberty. 3 straight championships, 3 straight. I don't know if he's got 3 straight coach of the years, but he's turned Liberty into a dominant program. So he's gone from a good head coach to a great head coach.
The lead one, yep.
Because he's gotten with a great, he went to Virginia. He learned under Tony Bennett. Then he went back to it. He's stepped out of the rat race. He's probably gained new perspective, new lessons. And now this next chapter of his head coaching life has been super successful. So would love to see a guy like CY get another chance in Jacksonville. Would totally make sense.
Just to piggyback what you said, I'm glad you said that, and those examples were perfect, because oftentimes if we want to be blunt on the show, like we said, we don't really care. We'll say what we want. They don't usually give black head coaches another chance. So Richie McKay is a great example of a guy who knew what he was doing before and had some solid success, but then got with an elite level program, got some perspective, and now he's doing elite level things. I just think more guys period should get a second chance, but I also specifically with minorities, I think that is a thing that's like, hey, you got your shot, that's all you get,
No question. All right, let's move to the women's side, Brian. Let's show women's basketball some love. We should have gotten to them earlier in the show, but let's start with SMU. SMU women's basketball opened up. That's obviously a big job. Big time. And job. We're just throwing out names here. Not that we've heard this, but going to start with my girl, Rika Patterson at SEMO. She's former Baylor assistant, so she's got the Texas ties, and she's done a great job turning SEMO into a program that historically was towards the bottom of the OVC into the OVC championship, the OVC champions in 2020, and then had another good season this year. I think they got the 3rd seed in the OVC. So I've seen her up close in person. She's fantastic, not only on the floor, but she's great in the community. She's got a great energetic personality. She's young, but she's proven she'd be great. Another great name, there's some great coaches in Texas, and Mark Kellogg at Stephen F. Austin. They've dominated. Tina Langley at Rice has won 3 straight Conference USA championships. And then you got to look over at Missouri State, what they've done under Mox Agugwa Hamilton. She's been fantastic. Two Missouri Valley championships in just 2 years as the head coach. She's definitely an up-and-coming rising star. That would be fantastic there. Yeah, for sure. I love those names. And then a name I'll throw out there that I'm just biased towards that I think will do a great job was also in the Baylor tree. It's Toyelle Wilson, who's an assistant at Michigan, was at Baylor for a long time, had tremendous success there. They won a national championship. She was also a head coach at Prairie View, where she won championships there and can recruit the state really well. I got a couple of names, believe it or not, that's come in. Hannah Howard at TCU and JC, I don't know exactly how you say her last name, Hoyt at UMKC. So 2 names that just came in. I can't say that I'm super plugged in the women's side, but I'm learning. It's baby steps. But a big time job SMU is for basketball. Period. We see what the men's side has been able to do semi recently with Larry Brown and the resurgence. That facility is incredible. Their practice facility is incredible. Their location. So definitely a high level job. All right, let's talk about Wisconsin. That's another job that just recently opened up. Again, I haven't heard specific names for this one, but I would first call up Shauna Green at Dayton. She's done such a great job at the Dayton program. Yep. in her 4 or 5 years there, turning them into a perennial top 25 team. I would reach out to her. And again, Mox Agugwa Hamilton at Missouri State, 2 coaches, in the Midwest that have proven to be successful at that level.
Yeah, I would think the proven head coach route would make sense for Wisconsin. Another high level job, Big Ten job that not normally going to probably go with an assistant to move up or to get a job quite at that level. But yeah, look forward to seeing some of the names that continue to develop. I got nothing on Wisconsin.
All right. Let's go to our small college segment. Let's talk some small college ball. We're both small college guys, so
got to show love at that level.
Yeah, we're going to start with Oklahoma City University. The only update that I have there, Jim Abbott, their longtime athletic director, is headed towards retirement. He's decided in order to help, groom his proteges, he's letting his associate AD handle the search. So, will be somebody new with the juice in this situation. Have you heard any names there, Brian, or same people as last time?
Yeah, I haven't heard much, to be honest, as far as like actual names themselves. So I'll do some digging between this week and next week. I did hear they're not moving very fast, so I kind of put that in my brain, like, okay, we got some time to figure this one out. So yeah, I don't have any actual names other than names I would make up.
Sure. Another one that's been quiet a little bit is Northwest Florida State. Again, arguably the best junior college job in the country. The 3 names we mentioned last week: Jake Williams at Dodge City, who's a former Northwest Florida assistant under Steve DeMayo. We mentioned Jeremy Schulman at Eastern Florida, who's done a phenomenal job turning that program into a national contender.
Right.
They've had some recent cuts, I believe, in their budget and their scholarships, and so that would be a move that would make sense for Jeremy financially and in terms of status of program. And then the other name we mentioned is Tim Ryan, the former head coach at College of Central Florida, the Hall of Famer, whose program got shut down last year. He's since taken the head job at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College in Mississippi. But, and he just got there. I believe he's happy and having a decent first year. But I'm sure when Northwest Florida comes calling, that's something you got to listen to. So I'm sure he would have interest if he was involved there.
Yeah, I still think the showman, to me, is the one that's like, until he says no, that's what I'm trying to figure out how to close the deal on. Just makes too much sense. He's had the level of success they want to have in Northwest Florida. To me, he's the guy. And just from the little bit of the JUCO world that I've tapped into on this job, it seems like that's kind of the consensus out there, is he's the one that makes sense and the one that should try to get done. So we'll see what happens. But those other
Jake Williams, what he did at, again, I'm gonna emphasize this, what he did at USC Salkehatchie, a job that nobody ever won at. I don't think. I apologize if I'm skipping over their heyday in the 90s. But to take that team to Hutch and then have a successful first year at Dodge City, Jake's proven that he can do it, and he's certainly been there at that school and knows what it takes to win there.
Yeah, I think
so we'll be interesting to see what happens.
Some of those people just may be biased towards, the Florida being there, the Florida head coach. Like I said, just a little bit of the JUCO world I've talked to. This seems like that's the name that people are saying. So that's not only my bias, but there's definitely some other qualified guys. And like you said, he would be extremely one of those guys in that space. If you can do it at UC Salkehatchie or however you say that, makes sense to me.
Well, Brian, I enjoyed it.
One women's basketball job that's pretty high level that we didn't mention that I'm getting called out on is Auburn is open. The Auburn women's basketball job is open. So didn't want to not mention that name. And we'll get more and more advanced on our women's basketball conversation and jobs that are open. But that seems like a really it's probably the biggest one we've mentioned, maybe even bigger than Wisconsin as far as jobs that are open, SEC jobs. So,
yeah, you talk about the best leagues in women's basketball. The SEC is by far at the top. So that is a big one. I appreciate you bringing that up. I'd appreciate it more if you had some scoop for us. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, we'll certainly continue to talk women's hoops, and we'll bring on some guests who can share more insight onto some of these women's coaching searches than we can. So, Brian, week 2 in the books, man. I enjoyed it. This was fun. Same time, same place next week. If you missed the live stream, if you want to go back and listen in your car, we release this via podcast on iTunes and Spotify and all the major podcast providers.
Yep.
So make sure to check it out. Leave us a review, 5 stars only, please. And we'll hopefully see you guys same place, same time next week on the Carousel. Quick PSA before we wrap up. Again, Jasher Cox, athletic director at Lincoln Memorial, will be our guest today on the Right Fit podcast. That's a Zoom for Rising Coaches members only, but will be released. Limited parts of it will be released via podcast on Monday. Again, Jasher Cox at Lincoln Memorial, very timely guest, it seems like, for the Right Fit podcast. So, Brian, thanks again for being on. We enjoyed it.
Yep, we'll do it again next week.
All right.
I love the outro.